Monster Hunter Wilds has only been out a few days, but I've sunk almost 50 hours into the game so far, and I wanted to make this video to explore how it compares to Monster Hunter World. The combat is much smoother and fluid. Focus mode makes the game feel so much better to play, even though I think the wound system is a bit too powerful. The skill Flare also makes it very potent. It allows the creation of wounds to be much more common, and can make fighting monsters pretty easy if you can stun lock them by focus striking all the wounds. But all in all, the combat is much more smooth than World, and much more enjoyable in my opinion to play, and that's a big positive from my end. In terms of difficulty, just under the 50 hours that I've put into the game since Friday, I've done all of the content in the game at least once. I do feel like I've barely scratched the surface on the game, so there's still so much to do and so much more to grind for. But from an objective point of view, I've played all of the content, the hardest content in the game so far. So as a veteran of the series, it's hard for me to quantify the difficulty of the game, but after playing through all the content, I can truly say that low rank is slightly harder than Village Rise. It can be a walk in the park for more experienced players, or even people who have just played Monster Hunter World, which I think can be viewed as a bit of a negative, but at the end of the day, it is the storyline portion of the game, and it's supposed to be more of a guided experience, and I don't think it's tailored towards being difficult at all. It's more of a run you through the game, introduce you to the mechanics type situation, which I think if it serves that purpose, that's fine, because late game it can get more complicated. So I'll just touch on that now. So some of the later game monsters, like the 7-star or 8-star quests, are actually very challenging, and they will punish you if you're not paying attention. You can easily get one shot. This is the main reason why I'm not worried about the difficulty of the game going forward. This isn't Master Rank, and I think a lot of people are comparing the difficulty of World Iceborne with Wilds, and forgetting that Iceborne is Master Rank and supposed to be harder. I recently did a video where I played through the entirety of World in under 10 hours, till Xeno'jiiva. I didn't do the DLC. And that game is about the same difficulty of Wilds, if not a touch harder, due to the combat smoothness of Wilds, and the focus system giving the player more agency and tools to fight. The wound system is leagues beyond World's tenderizing mechanic. Being forced to stop using a weapon to clutch claw got very boring very fast, and it felt like you were forced to do it every time you went into a fight. The monster would drool and step back, and you were just kind of sitting there like, well, I have to clutch claw now, because it's just the way that you play. In Wilds, though, the tenderized areas open up naturally as you fight, and then they can be consumed by a focus strike in that area. This is much better, as it feels like it's way less invasive and forced upon the player. You don't even need to do a focus strike on the wound if you don't want to. It can be consumed by attacking normally till it breaks. And, you know, all in all, it's a much better system than before. I'm running a 7900 XT, and I've capped the game at 120 frames per second with frame gen on the highest graphic settings and the high resolution texture pack as well. I'm playing at 1440p with FSR on quality, and my CPU is an i7-14700, so there's no issues there. And I still say the game runs poorly in my opinion. For me, it's smooth and I can play, you know, I've had no problems with it. There's no crashes for me. It's a smooth 120 FPS. I pretty much almost never get any dips below that. But it's a shame because it's creating poor experiences for users on lower hardware, and it's the reason the game is sitting at mixed reviews at the moment. The benchmark tool seems to be pretty accurate though, and free to use, so before you buy, that should be something that you should do if you're interested in playing. And compared to World, the game runs much worse, which is to be expected because it's a newer game and it's trying to capitalize on the newer hardware, and it's doing things that World could never do. The immersion is just out of this world. And I think the overall image quality and fidelity is actually better in World, like the particle effects and stuff. But I think that's mainly because I can run World at native resolution, and most people can run World at native resolution on today's hardware. Whereas in Wilds, we're having to use FSR or DLSS or some sort of upscaling to make the game actually run at playable frame rates, which is such a shame, because it's just like, why can't devs just optimize their games, you know? The game looks visually much better from a art standpoint, although it can be blurry depending what settings are used, as we've just discussed. The game looks stunning on higher settings, and the level of detail is phenomenal, and the world feels so alive. Everywhere you look, there's a bug or a bird or a fish doing its own thing. A bird might land in a nest and start feeding its young, or a group of tiny raptors run through the grass. And this is all happening while you're fighting the large monsters or just traveling about. It's all simulated and just, you know, it really feels like an alive ecosystem when you're in the game. The world feels truly alive, and the work has gone into it. Making the game feel this way is definitely not unrecognized. All the people have routines and long animations, all the NPCs, and the felines in the camp are fun and hilarious as well. And Gemma doesn't just do one thing on the forge all day. She goes through an entire process, like creating a blade. She puts it into the forge, it gets hot, then she hammers it, then she grinds it, then she puts it into the bucket of cold water and does it again, and then puts it aside. You know, that's, you know, it's like a 2-minute loop or 3-minute loop that she's doing. It's just so much detail has gone into these animations. And Alma loves to walk about and interact with other characters and the grass and the food in one of the villages, which is great. It's a bit annoying though when you're trying to find her for a quest and she's just off, you know, 100 meters away playing with a certain animal. But you know, that's the level of detail that's gone into those animations is fantastic and second to none in my opinion. And compared to World had a lot of this love poured into it, but Wilds has taken another leap upwards. Everything has been upgraded, so to speak, especially out in the field, in the maps, seeing all of the creatures in the world. They're definitely much more engaging and have been upgraded since World. And I don't think I'll be able to go back to World for a long time after playing Wilds. This game is a true upgrade to Monster Hunter World, but it comes at a very heavy performance cost, which is enough to lock out some players for a good time. If performance wasn't an issue, this game is easily the best entry in the series so far, and will definitely be my next 1000 hour adventure.